right, guys, let's do some quick introductions. Tell the lovely people who you are.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Tony Colvin, Director of Performance Marketing at Albertsons Companies. So we are a grocery retailer brand. We're in 36 states, 2,200 stores, 12 divisions. So thank you to the people who have shopped at Acme, Shaw's, Star, Jewel Osco. I've met you guys over the past day and a half, so thank you for keeping me employed.
Hi, I'm Brooke Danesh. I lead ecom at ThirdLove. For those of you that don't know, ThirdLove is a woman-owned bra and underwear company out of San Francisco.
Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany Li. I am a paid social marketing manager specializing in Pinterest. Been at Wayfair for about just under 3 years now.
Perfect. So let's start with maybe a little bit of a softball. How are you guys defining and really redefining your audience segmentation right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, especially in this digital, ever-changing market, our audience strategy has been really ever-changing. I think when I had just joined at Wayfair, we had just come from a year or two right after COVID. We had a huge influx of net new customers during COVID. So we had this really rich first-party data of net new customers, their emails, their activity on site. So that gave us a really good opportunity to really retarget people intentionally. We had a lot of internal data science models that would calculate what's the likelihood of someone purchasing, what category they were interested in, and assuming someone would purchase the next day, what is their average AOV. And with that data, we were really able to cater different types of ads to whatever we thought would be very personalized. So if a person was on the lower echelon of AOV, we would potentially price cap the type of SKUs we're showing. However, I think even in the last couple of years, we've seen a few things. Firstly, it's been crazily enough a few years, 5, 6 years after COVID. So that data richness is kind of degrading as we keep going on. Secondly, we've had a lot of different privacy laws passed, great for consumer, tough for marketers. And also, like Apple ATT and iOS privacy restrictions continuously rolling out. So we're seeing that signal degrade. And we're finding these audience strategies that have once done really well for us kind of not be as effective. So it's I would say softball question, but very I could go on and on talking about, well, there's this, there's that, and there's, all the, ways of trying to find new audiences and leaning into, social vendor platform, algos of how do we find people. I think if I were to kind of TLDR it, the trend that we've been seeing at Wayfair is really embracing social media and their ability to find what works for their audience. Pinterest loves to say they know that you're planning a wedding before all your friends and family because you've been searching, people have been, people say your phones are listening. I don't know if that's true or not, but Meta, Pinterest, TikTok, they're very good at knowing what people want. And we believe at Wayfair that they're better than what we know, especially for users who haven't been on site. So we're really leaning in and kind of transitioning that trust and giving them more ability to be able to personalize ads to the right audience.
Yeah, I would say we had a similar situation at Albertsons. So I joined in 2020, and I joined what was called the Ecom Accelerator team. So we were tasked with expanding our e-commerce presence. We took a 5-year plan and we shortened it to 1, right? So our team grew overnight, and it was all about acquisition. It was all about, we have a ton of new customers that are shopping online. How do we retain them? And then in 2022, we noticed that we started to have degradation. So what was happening is our best customers started downgrading, and we're like, okay, we need to pivot, right? We need to pivot. We need to talk to our existing customers. What are their barriers? Why are they not coming back? Why are they not doing an online order? And one of the truths that we found, or insights, was we just assumed our customers knew about delivery. When you walk into one of our stores, you see Drive Up and Go, you see the delivery signs. And we realized that there were 36% of our existing customers didn't know we had delivery, didn't know we delivered in 30 minutes or less. And so having that audience switch and having that insight prompted us to do an integrated campaign all about being able to deliver in 30 minutes or less and going after existing customers. And so that's where we are right now. It's about making sure that our current customers know everything about us and how we can enrich their shopping experience. And then secondary would be then going after net new customers.
Let's talk about the net new customers. So Brooke, how are you thinking about capturing customer interest or something about them when they first come to your site and you have no idea about anything about them?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Zero-party data. How do we get
Wow.
that? I know. We want to know and learn everything about you, but we know nothing. So we actually designed a second fitting room quiz. We call it the mini quiz. So we already had, one of the bigger quizzes. I'm sure most of you have taken a quiz on a website. It's usually around 7 questions, and you get a results page, but it's a whole kind of separate experience from your shopping journey. So our mini quiz, we actually embedded it within our collections. So as a customer, you're already shopping the website, you're already in a collection. We don't want you to leave that page. You're already interested in something, you obviously clicked on something, or you landed on that collection somehow. So within that page, in our mini quiz, you click on it, it's 2 simple questions. We know everyone's busy, everyone wants to do something super fast, not, take 2 minutes, right, to do anything. 2 simple questions. What is your size? And then what we call a problem. So a problem is, yeah, I see some women shaking heads. You're currently wearing a bra and there's something wrong with it. So we want to find you not only what size you are, but then what style will match and hopefully help your problem. Those are the 2 simple questions. We do ask for email, but it's optional. And with that, you get your results, and the collection filters automatically. So it's going to filter by the size that you entered and by the problems that you selected, and hopes that all of the styles will be merchandised now on the page. They will be in stock in your size, and they will show you bras the styles that you're looking for to help your problems. With that, we already now know your size and styles that you are interested in, and hopefully your email address. And so, our quiz has been live just for a couple months now. It's converting at about a 12%, which is great, which is higher than our bigger fitting room. However, traffic is definitely, on smaller scale. So you gotta, weigh that in with conversion. But so far, we're pretty happy with it. We're getting email addresses, and we're getting a little piece of the pie of who you are and what you're looking for.
When we think about audience targeting, I think we can overemphasize getting down to the right person, right? Everyone's striving for this elusive one-to-one, which may be achievable, may not even be achievable. Do you think that we can over-engineer our audience strategy, that it's becomes too small or too expensive to even reach them?
Absolutely. So we actually had this happen at Albertsons, and it was actually fairly recent, where we realized that exact point. We've gotten to the point over the past 5 years where we've over-engineered all of our audiences. And so, for example, we look at our loyalty business, right? So this is everybody who's in our Banner for You program. When we looked at our targeting, we realized that we had something like 10 to 12 different sub-segments just within loyalty. And we're like, wait a minute, these are way too many. And we were getting down to, hey, you're a person who has not done a loyalty-based order in the last 3 months, but you also shop milk alternatives. And I'm like,
and your problem is.
Right, exactly. And so, what we were calling earlier personalization, or what we thought was personalization, turned out to be just an over-engineering of our audiences. And so what we've done is we've taken almost a clean house approach, where we're saying, what is the zero-sum customer that we need to reach within this business unit, right? We need to make sure we're going after existing customers who are not signed up with our loyalty program, full stop. So for us, it's really rolling back all of those segmentations and making them broad again, and also bringing back those acquisition-based targets, which did so well for us a few years ago.
Yeah, this is something we really relate to at Wayfair. Being so data-driven and having once was a great wealth of first-party data, we really, I believe, over-engineered our audiences. We were saying, okay, you've been on site in the last 7 to 14 days, and we think your intent score is 90%. And we would have all these different segments from, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your AOV value, like percentile. But then we kind of took a look back and we thought, okay, we have all of these, hundreds and hundreds of audiences. Are we targeting new movers? People who need furniture? Are we targeting, who is our target demographic, and are we actually reaching them? And so that's one of those things that I think is a healthy look back, like a healthy exercise to look back at, audience strategy, even just marketing strategy, because things in the environment is constantly changing. Like I mentioned, like the retargeting audience strategy did work very well, especially from like 2020 to 2023. It doesn't really quite work today. And so I think there's a really healthy exercise of being skeptical and just re-looking with a new set of eyes of being like, is this too overcomplicated? Is the data really still as effective as we think it was once was?
I love the word skeptical over curious, right? Like, we all want to be curious and find it, but I think there's a healthy level of skepticism when it comes to figuring out where your audiences are. So as things have constantly changed, maybe retargeting doesn't work very well. Have you guys used a channel or something where you found an audience in an unexpected place? Like, what's a new thing you're testing out right now?
I can go first. So this is really, based on the customer. Who is your customer? Where is your customer when they're not shopping your brand? Probably my customer is like, I don't want to say 100% women, but I'm going to say 99.99% women. Definitely, we don't have a lot of Gen Z. Our bras are expensive. We're really honed in on fit and comfort. And so we're looking at, the moms, we're looking at, the commuters, working women. What are they doing during the day? They could be waiting at soccer practice, sitting in their car. They could be commuting on the train, and they could be playing games on their phone. With that, we have implemented AppLovin. I don't know if you guys have heard of AppLovin. If you watch the stock market this year, they have exploded insanely, and they're doing very well. I would say about 6 months ago, we're like, let's just test it. And they were basically like, what's working on Meta? Grab those ads, throw them on AppLovin, see what sticks, see what converts. And so far, it's been really, really successful for us. Again, started on a small scale, within the budget, but throughout the last 6 months, we've definitely been increasing it. We're finding, that mom or that commuter playing games and showing her ads there.
Yeah, I would say for me, the surprise channel was affiliates. So we recently launched something called affiliate audience activation, right? So we realized that with one of our affiliate partners, we were driving really high incremental trips, and they were net new customers. So I worked with this partner, and I said, okay, what we want to do is now you have this whole data set of customers who we know are doing incremental trips to our stores through your affiliate partnership. I want the ability to take that same audience and pipe it into our evergreen media, because I believe them to be a more cost-effective audience, because they're already shopping with us, they're net new, and they're incremental. And what we saw was a 40% increase in engagement and also efficiency. So they were super efficient to reach, and they were highly engaged. And so this was an audience that was net new, that we didn't have to go out and actively search for. We had a partner who captured them through incremental trips, and then we essentially retargeted and remarketed to them in our evergreen strategy. So that was super helpful for us.
I would say for us, AppLovin has also been very explosive in growth. We've also been leaning into TikTok. That has been a very incremental net new audience, which I don't think is very surprising to hear. One thing that I think has also opened us up into reaching net new audiences is even within our existing social strategy, so Meta, Pinterest, we had been very focused on lower funnel marketing, performance marketing, and now realizing maybe we were over-indexed in lower funnel, even just broadening our objectives, going after awareness, going after that mid-funnel, that just naturally touches into like new types of reach that we weren't able to reach before. So even, in our existing platforms, there's definitely net new incremental audiences, as well as the new exciting platforms like AppLovin and TikTok.
Tiffany, I want to click into Pinterest for a little bit. It is historically and widely known as an inspirational platform, right? You go there to browse, to see what you're looking to buy. How are you looking at Pinterest as a lower funnel conversion driver? What signals indicate, yes, this person is ready to purchase this nightstand versus, hey, I'm just kind of like looking for fun coupons right now?
Yeah, Pinterest is a really interesting space where you're kind of in between Google and Meta. And in this way, it's kind of like Meta because you're scrolling, you're looking for, it's a social platform, you're looking for inspiration, but that it is also lower funnel in a way that you're actually like searching targeted inspiration. People go to Pinterest for a specific reason. They're planning a wedding, they're planning to move a birthday party, they're moving, they're trying to redo their bedroom, something like that. And so they're looking for inspiration. So this person is actually quite in this like lower funnel because they want to act on something, they're going to do something, but they're still open to inspiration. So we take this into multiple approaches. There's leaning into that inspiration aspect where we using AI, quarter in the jar, show multiple styles to educate a consumer. A lot of times, because the furniture world is like very, nuanced, and even I'm not really even sure of all the, I'm not a designer. Like people don't really quite know what their taste is. Are they modern? Are they boho? Are they farmhouse? I don't know. And so Pinterest is a great visual way to have users figure out what they actually like. In this way, they're able to filter down, oh, I actually love modern boho farmhouse kitchen stuff. And then they're able to go on Wayfair and know what to search. And then we really heavily lean into that search aspect of like once they know, then we start showing them those retargeting, the specific SKUs that we want them to end up converting on site.
Tony, you appeal to many different customer segments, right? Like lots of people need groceries. So how are you thinking about building an audience strategy that appeals to so many different diverse customer groups without like alienating somebody?
Yeah, for us, it's all about insights, right? So we sit on so much customer data. We can tell you, like we know how you shop, where you shop, what products you over-index with. But what we don't know is where are you in the purchase cycle? When you make that conscious decision, oh, I need groceries, are you sitting at home? Are you watching CTV? Are you with your kids? Are you in your apartment, right? And so what we try to do is diversify our creative strategy to appeal to everyone in different ways, depending on the channel and depending on where they kind of are in the purchase behavior. So for instance, let's take college move-in day. College move-in day, it's all about influencers, and we're pushing the loyalty app, right? Because we know that parents are with their kids, they're moving in, but the kids also need to start grocery shopping. So for that, we're gonna be heavy on TikTok. Not only heavy on TikTok, but talking about the mechanics of the loyalty program. So this is how you can get 10% off. Oh, you can also build your meals. Oh, you have $20, like let us put together a sample meal because we have a budget tracker, right? So that's more of the mechanics. If you want to take an older demographic, it's both in-store and digital because that was built off of an insight from our team that for our older cohort, they would go into the store and originally just pick up a paper circular. That was their whole thing. And so now with that cohort, it's more about education. So they pick up the paper circular, but there's a QR code that tells them, hey, you can actually see this on your phone now. Or our app will kick them into in-store mode, and in-store mode will say, hey, these are the deals that you clipped, and here are the aisles that it's available on. And it's told in a language that resonates with them. So again, it's about the right channel mix. It's about understanding the different age demographics and how they shop.
Brooke, what about you? When it comes to the website experience of ThirdLove, like how are you looking to find when a customer is ready to purchase, or if they're just browsing and kind of trying to find different product lines? Like, are there signals that you're looking at specifically?
Yeah, I mean, definitely where they're shopping on the website and their customer journey, I think is really important. Obviously, if they're on PDP, the purchase, they have more intent. They're really digging into, the products, what features they have. And so I think, we're really focusing on PDP throughout that whole checkout purchase funnel. Other things that we are doing on the homepage is we have a fully customized homepage based on archetypes. So either if you're a new customer, you'll get a completely different homepage than if you are a customer where we know your size. So we have 4 homepages right now running, all based on your size and what styles we think that you will lean into the most, in hopes that, we, show that customer who obviously is looking a little bit more for inspiration, and hopefully, we get her to through that purchase funnel and ultimately get her to convert.
We're all media marketers over here, right? But creative is a huge part of the audience targeting, right? How to build it, what are they looking for, how to serve it. How are you guys working with your internal creative teams to really manage this at scale?
We work in lockstep with creative because I tell people, I'm like, we're the engine behind the creative, but we need to work together as a team to build an integrated plan that works, right? So for instance, let's take holiday. Our holiday planning starts in May, and it is a full creative and media, like we do a war room for like 2 days, and it's like, all right, let's talk about holiday. How are we gonna do this, right? Because we wanna make sure that every piece of creative that is produced efficiently, and we have the media investment in order to actually push it out to everyone. And so it is really a concerted effort, not just with the creative team, but also with the insights team, because we need to know what are the customer pain points, what are the insights, and then working with the creative team to address that, and then we put the engine behind it. So it's really a group effort for all of us.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think insights, because I was just gonna talk about it, I think that's really important. Our creative team is always looking for what's working, what's not. When we're doing tests, did this work? How does it work? Why doesn't it work? So I think, I agree, just being as close as you can with the creative team. I know there's a lot of opinions out there, but yeah, I think you can come, to a happy place. But yeah, really, obviously metrics don't lie. So really, getting them up to speed with, everything that's working and what's not working, you'll ultimately, hopefully, get the best creative out of them.
Yeah, I would say this is an area that Wayfair is really, I think, a little behind on, but really focusing our energy on making sure we're working more in lockstep. There's so much nuance when it comes to creative, which as a data person kind of sometimes makes us feel a little uncomfortable being like, why is this underperforming? There's 400 different things about this video versus that video. But there's also just the scalability, which is almost daunting, right? You have different types of content that performs across different parts of the funnel, right? You don't want to show someone who's never heard of Wayfair a very specific chair that you need to buy, where it should be more about the brand values and vice versa. But not only do we need differentiated creative across the funnels, what we've seen is that different types of creative works on even different platforms. So for example, Meta Reels and TikTok, you would think they're relatively similar, they're short form video, but we've seen in testing that the audiences are different, so the creative is going to need to be different if we want it to perform well. I think Anya mentioned that the attention span is 8 seconds. On TikTok, it's less than 3. So, there's different audiences that you're speaking to on TikTok versus Reels. I am a Reels person, so I get late stuff. So, actually we've seen people on Reels don't mind branded content. They don't mind if the logo is there. But on TikTok, it has to be native. It has to kind of feel like a natural, not ad for a performance marketing creative. And then on Pinterest is kind of a completely yeah, as long as it looks good, it's fine. As long as you want to pin it, yeah, exactly. So not only are we working with, okay, I want upper, mid-funnel, and then lower funnel content, I also want mid-funnel, Pinterest-specific content. And so that adds just so much layers to, trying to kind of work with our creative team in lockstep of being educating, I think, both ways. The marketing team knowing what language should we speak, what should we ask for, as well as educating the creative team of being okay, there are different formats for different platforms, this works well, and making sure that there's a lot of seamless communication between two teams, which is always easier said than done, but that is the dream. We all have the same goal of trying to get the right content to the right people.
You bring up a good point about the education piece. I find that that is so paramount, right? Because when you have an integrated team, you have lots of opinions, right? And especially, I'll take holiday for an example. You have the traditional marketers that are like, we got to do our holiday spot. It has to be our 30, 45-second spot, heavily branded. We got to get it. We got to shoehorn everything in there. And we took an approach last year where we're like, no, we're not going to do that, right? We are going to build vignettes based off of specific customer needs, and we're going to run that. So when you were talking about the website permutations, we did something like 250 different web permutations for Thanksgiving, because we realized that not everybody has a turkey for Thanksgiving. So you may be, like meat alternative, or you may be pescatarian. And so we've been able to do these different personalized permutations while also educating the stakeholders internally by saying, we're leaning into the data, and this is what we want to do, and you want to diversify. So the education piece is important, and it's important to bring everyone along because the landscape is changing so rapidly.
The landscape is changing rapidly, right? There's dozens of creative formats we have to think about. There's all of these different platforms, all of the different microsegments. The complexity is hard. I mean, this is a hard thing to do. So, do we really need to get down to the one-to-one level? Can we just stop saying that, actually? Can we agree right here? Where do you guys feel where do you get just too small for it?
Yeah, I would say for large-scale national campaigns, the one-to-one is just it's too expensive, right? I tell people the COVID days are gone when marketing budgets were like, yeah, we're gonna do everything. We're gonna do the one-to-one. Now I'm saying, what is the single source of truth when I know that I want our customers, one, to be customers for life, and I also want them to add one more product to their basket and feel good about what they're doing and the value and the price that they're getting. And so when you narrow down to that single source of truth, then the one-to-one matching, to me, takes a back seat, because now you're addressing a single customer problem that is universal through all of your customer sets.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think something that I look at is traffic. So when you do have all these different segmentations, and maybe you're testing them, and maybe you're just seeing what sticks, if 3% of your traffic hits the segmentation, you're out, you're just wasting time for such a small set of customers. And then from there, test something else, try something else. So I think it's ever evolving. But yeah, to me, I'm always, looking at traffic and percent of total traffic, and if it's small, then you got to get rid of it.
Last question before I'll open it up to the audience. If you guys were starting over with your audience targeting strategy, what would you be doing differently? Not everybody at once. Okay, but someone needs to answer. Thank you, Tony.
I'll go. Yeah, if I were to start it all the way back over, I would start with the existing customer, right? I think, and I'll make this blanket statement. I think as marketers, we can sometimes overlook our base, right? In search of, okay, who are the new customers? Who are the net new people? And we subconsciously stop thinking about the customers who are just loyal, right? What are their pain points? How are they evolving? How are they progressing? I had a few conversations the past couple of days, and everybody's like, oh, I grew up going to Jewel, so I go to Jewel Osco. My parents went to Jewel. My whole family goes to Jewel, right? And so for me, that is, okay, yes, you are existing customers, but your kids will likely, if your kids live in the same area, will more than likely go to the same grocery retailer, right? So that's a new customer base that's coming in because you've been able to retain your loyal existing customers. So thinking about net new customers through the lens of how do our existing customers relate to them. So I would actually start with existing customers in mind first, and then branch out into acquisition.
I think at Wayfair, we kind of have actually the opposite not problem, but because we have been so focused on performance marketing, it's always been our bread and butter, DPAs, and just like trying to get people back on site, we are now kind of making that uphill argument of like, we should invest more in upper funnel and mid funnel, which is always a harder conversation to have, I think, with finance and upper leadership when those channels aren't giving immediate payback. Even like new acquisitions and new customers, it's always just going to be more expensive to bring that kind of traffic back on site versus a very assimilated and loyal customer. And so I feel like we're kind of going through those growing pains of trying to prove out a longer term investment rather than our existing customer base, which if we go after, we know we're going to get a certain amount of return. And so I think just the pain points of starting so heavily on lower funnel, if I were to have a clean slate, I would probably establish a full funnel strategy to begin with.
Y'all's turn. Questions?
Right here. Hello, Angela with Edible. I completely agree that sometimes we get focused on acquisition, and we should definitely look at our core consumer. But what about that lapsed customer? What are some strategies and some things that you guys are doing, especially with such a competitive landscape out there right now, that are working for you to get that lapsed user?
Yeah, great question. So we focus on, first we start with the question, what is our right to win this customer back? Where can we win? And where are they lapsing, right? So first we look at the basket size. Like, okay, if they've diversified their basket, which product category have they stopped buying? Okay, we want to make sure that we have a lucrative offer for that specific category that caused them to lapse in the first place. If they're lapsing because of convenience, we will look and see, okay, where are they located? Are they located in an area that has a lower delivery penetration rate? If so, we will then serve them specific e-com focused offers to bring them back in, right? So when we think about our lapsed customer, we try to look at it from all angles of what caused them to lapse in the first place, and then determine our right to win strategy based on that answer.
Yeah, something that we do is, we look at our lapsed customer, but also what products that they were purchasing and they were buying. And if we have a new product similar to it, say they like cotton bras and we have a new cotton bra launch, we will, retarget them and hopefully, get them back with newness, essentially, to similar styles that we know that they have known and love.
I think lapse has always been a tricky segment for us at Wayfair. We have done a lot of free channels trying to incentivize people to come back on site. We sometimes do like a coupon code. But what we have found, just like net new customers, it's expensive to try to really get a lapsed customer back on site. And so it's kind of a cost analysis of thinking is the cost of getting a lapsed customer unlapsed, is that greater than a net new customer? And do we think the added value is going to just really overcome that differential in cost? Or is it better to take that budget and spend it on net new customers? And so that's something that we're constantly evaluating and reprioritizing. It kind of pops up during certain conversations of, do we try to shrink our lapsed customers or just go for net new customers? And I think it's an ongoing conversation depending on the markets and the macro environment.
I would say that would also depend on your channel mix will also depend on that. There's some lapsed customers where I'm we can likely get them back with a personalized email, right? But there are other lapsed customers where I'm I pretty much got to throw all my channels at you, right? I got to hit you on Hulu. I got to make sure you're on take right. I got to give you a promotion. And so we also look at, again, what is going to be that investment, right? And we'll start with okay, the ones that we know we can win back via email, let's start there, right? Are we seeing a higher tick? And if we are trying to win you back through a CTV or a display ad, that has more of a nuance, right? That barrier to entry may have a higher offer point, right? Because we need them to actually make a more lucrative purchase than the other customers.
My name is Krish Gonzalez. I'm with CARD. Thank you for the insights that you've shared this morning. My question is, it relates to lapsed customer, new customer, existing customer. there's a lot of different definitions as to what that is. One might be who's already in your CRM system. How do each of you individually define your lapsed and new segments? And what you use to sort of determine which one becomes the greater priority in terms of your focus?
Great question. I would say I would always start with, like, when's the last time they shopped in our stores, right? So if they haven't shopped in our stores in 3 weeks, you're a lapsed customer. I want to win you back, right? Because on average, the average customer is shopping at our stores 2 to 3 times a week, and then at least twice a month, right? So if you haven't shopped with us in 3 weeks, something's going on, right? And so I want to make sure that we are digging into what is causing that. Now, part of that is seasonality, right? You may not have shopped in 3 weeks in the summer because you're on vacation, right? So we always try to factor in seasonality. And then in terms of new customers, we use 2 different definitions. You can be net new to one of our stores, meaning you've never shopped with us before, or you can be net new to e-com, which means you've always gone into our stores, but you haven't done a drive up and go order, or you haven't done a delivery order. If it is the latter, then we want to make sure that we are hitting you with e-commerce messagings, because we find that our customer base has more retention value when they become an omni-channel shopper. And so that's where we've really zeroed in the past couple months, in the past year actually, is focusing on those customers who are already shopping in store with us, but they have not used any of our e-com services.
Yeah, our timing is a lot longer than 3 weeks. But I would say, really just based on our product, we usually look at a 6 or a 12-month lapse, because you are supposed to change your bra and underwear every 6 months.
What?
I know. Women, please dig through your drawers and just throw them away.
That's lies. Marketing. That's marketing knowledge right there to get you to try to
It's the
buy more
truth.
often,
It's
Brooke.
the truth. I know. I know you have bras that are, 50 years old, but just throw them away.
Is this a problem?
A problem. That is a problem because it's stretched out. It really doesn't fit, so you just need to throw it away and get a new one. So we're looking at when should you essentially replenish, and so that's kind of our time frame as far as retargeting.
I think being mostly e-commerce, we are very we track and segment our audience based on website behavior, and we split up our audience segments into really like 3 flagship moments. One is when you give us your email, so that's email acquisition. The second one is converting, so your first purchase. Sometimes those are the same thing because you need to give us your email if you purchase with us. And then the third is lapsing. And so we have even subsets of that. We have like a new customer, think of someone who's never been on site before. We have returning, who we still don't have your email, but maybe this is your second time on site. And then we have acquired, we have your email, and I think there's like 7, 8 types. Essentially, but we kind of separate people into, okay, we have your email, have you purchased before, have you not, and then we have lapsed, which we then separate into lapsed as in we have your email, but you never purchased over a year ago, or your last purchase was over a year ago. So when we think about targeting those like high value lapsed customers, we're at Wayfair typically talking about people who have first purchased, and then secondly, that purchase being like a very high order value or like frequently had to purchase before lapsing.
Great. Thank you so much, Tiffany, Brooke, Tony, and Erin. Appreciate you guys. I got 99 problems.